One-game playoff over Minnesota last year, won a game in the division series for the White Sox against Tampa Bay last season, so a good matchup here today. The White Sox have won the first 2 games of this 4-game series, and the Yankees are looking for a win to end this 2-game slide. First pitch coming up. You're watching baseball on Fox. Saturday baseball sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect combination of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. Mostly cloudy day. We had a lot of rain about an hour before game time. Let's take a look at the Yankees starting lineup. Brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bud. Derek Jeter leads off at short. Nick Swisher and right. Mark Teixeira the DH today. Alex Rodriguez at third. Jorge Posada catching. Robinson Cano at second. A latter third of Melky Cabrera. Jerry Hairston Jr. just acquired from Cincinnati yesterday in the lineup in left. And Cody Ransom starts at first base. On the mound, 8-7, a 3.89 ERA, 24 years old, from Round Rock, Texas, is John Danks.
And a pitcher profile. Look at that 239 opponent's average. The interesting thing about that is Mark Burley has an opponent's average of 245, and of course Mark Burley recently retired 45 consecutive American League hitters. A superb changeup from John, and he, as his teammates know, a gritty competitor.
Our sprint pitcher profile on Mr. Danks. So Derek Jeter settles in. First pitch swinging, a fly ball into right field. An easy play for Jermaine Dye. One pitch, one out. This game is underway.
That's odd. How many times you see Derek Jeter as a leadoff batter swinging at the first pitch?
Especially the way he has owned left-handers this season.
Yeah.
And through most of his career. You see the numbers on Danks. Today making his 20th start of the year. And that opponent's batting average Tim talked about at 239. I mean, this guy has not gotten much run support when he has pitched in this ballpark this season. Of course, the White Sox until recently had a hard time scoring for anybody in this ballpark. Well, they've won the first 2 games of this series, outscoring the Yankees 13-7. Strike one to Nick Swisher, who spent last season as a member of the American League Central Division champion Sox. Swisher a game-tying home run in the top of the 9th inning in the series opener Thursday night. But the man who wound up taking his job at the end of last season, by the time the postseason rolled around, Dwayne Wise, won it in the bottom of the 9th with a hit. One and two on Nick Swisher. Swisher felt like he needed a little extra batting practice before the game on Monday when the Yankees started this road trip in Tampa Bay, and it obviously paid off. He homered from each side of the plate. But he is gone swinging his first at bat today, and quickly 2 gone.
Get ahead with the fastball and finish him off with the changeup. John Danks, coming from the Texas Rangers a couple of years ago. The two, Brandon McCarthy was the right-hander that went to Texas, the 2 main guys, Danks and McCarthy. I think the one thing that it shows you as Mark Teixeira steps up is that organizations, if guys have about the same ability, you wait longer when you judge a left-hander.
Lined into right, tailing away from Dye. It's up against the wall. Teixeira does not run well. Here comes a throw, and he's out. Maybe a slight stumble, making the turn around first base, and it cost him.
Yeah.
Scoreless game, bottom of the first inning, and the White Sox come to bat. Their starting lineup under Ozzie Guillen, presented by Taco Bell. Scott Pasenik in center, Gordon Beckham at third, Jermaine Dye right. Jim Thome the DH, Paul Konerko at first, A.J. Pierzynski catches. The latter third of Carlos Quentin, Chris Getz, and Jason Nix. 32-year-old right-hander signed a big contract as a free agent during the offseason, leaving Toronto. His hard-throwing A.J. Burnett. 10 wins, 4 losses, a fine 3.53 ERA. Today is his 21st start. 2-0 on Pasenik.
thing the White Sox hitters will do against Burnett this afternoon, try to swing early in the count. Do not fall behind, because he probably has the best curveball in the game.
But Timmy, you know better than just about everybody watching this telecast, because you caught for so many years. The best pitch in baseball, and it would hold true for A.J. Burnett, is still command of the fastball.
That's right.
One banged into right field, a base hit. That was not a well-located fastball.
And he was behind in the count when he threw it.
See the numbers on Burnett. He's been on quite a roll lately. Let's take a look at our sprint pitcher profile.
He has not been beaten since June 27th. Best curve in the game, probably. He has not been careless lately, which means, as Joe Girardi told us before the game, he stayed ahead of the hitters and made it as simple as he possibly can. And with a guy with as good a stuff as Burnett, that's what you try to do from a catcher's standpoint, is keep it as simple as possible. Get ahead with the fastball and then go to the curve.
Good-looking rookie third baseman Gordon Beckham, just a year ago, was drafted out of the University of Georgia. Here's that fastball for the base hit.
Fastball count, he got one, and the first hit of the game for the White Sox.
Ooh, pretty good move right there. Pasetnik very much a base stealing threat. 16 times he's reached, 9 times been thrown out. Beckham drafted as a shortstop out of Georgia, but they had the very talented Alexi Ramirez, who made the change from second base last year to shortstop this year. When they brought Beckham up, they put him at third base, and he has taken off. Fouled away, 0-2.
Last time I saw the White Sox, Gordon Beckham, in his first 58 appearances for the Sox, had only 10 hits, and he had a game-winning hit to right center field against the Chicago Cubs. And I think that really started things. It's amazing what the confidence. Boy, I'll tell you, what a quick move by Burnett. And here is that hit to right center field to win it for the White Sox over the Cubs.
You got to remember now, this young man was not brought up until June the 4th. And as Tim mentioned, I mean, he really struggled for the first nearly 3 weeks. Beckham gone swinging. But since that time, over the last 18 games, has been over a 400 batting.
Well, that's an idea of what Burnett can do to right-handers or left-handers with that breaking ball. Make major league hitters look futile.
One out, one on. Jermaine Dye to the plate. A .281 batter, 23 home runs, and 63 batted in. By, of course, the World Series hero. The White Sox took care of the Houston Astros. You were here for it. He was the MVP.
MVP driving in the only run in Game 4 down in Houston, as the White Sox won their first World Series since 1918.
Swung on it, fouled out of play, and Burnett quickly ahead at no balls and 2 strikes.
I said 1918, the first since 1917, as Jerry Reinsdorf and his staff celebrated. What an unforgettable year here on the south side of Chicago.
You ever seen a postseason rotation, an entire postseason, by one rotation, everybody in it, as dominant as that White Sox was in that run?
No. Usually in a best 4 of 7 series, you get one hot pitcher. They had 4 hot pitchers.
Just blew him away on a fastball up and over the plate. After a leadoff single by Pasetnik, back-to-back strikeouts for Burnett. And let's take a look at our 4 keys to the game here today.
Well, for the White Sox, AJ's dilemma, and he has been a dilemma to American League hitters since late June. And for the Yankees, try to get to John Danks early and feed off a very tired bullpen. In fact, with the trade of Clayton Richard, all the talk of Chicago, Jake Peavy coming to the White Sox, they had to start Carrasco in last night's game. And he went, I think, about 70 pitches deep into that game. So they relied only on their bullpen against the tough Yankee lineup last night.
Told you during the pregame show, Jake Peavy arrived here a little bit after 12:30 local time at a press conference, and there he is in uniform for the first time here today. So coming over from San Diego. Wow. You play the second baseman in shallow right center field on the shift against Jim Thome. Boy, now that's big league scouting right there, Timmy.
Did it? Did
Ford F-150.
Fox Saturday Baseball presented by just a pickup truck. It's a Ford F-150. Sellout crowd on hand at U.S. Cellular Field in Chicago. No score at the end of one. Alex Rodriguez to lead things off and looks at a strike from John Danks. Wainwright, of course, began the year on the disabled list. Missed 28 games, undergoing arthroscopic surgery to prepare the labrum in his right hip. And Joe Girardi telling us before the game he does not believe that Alex Rodriguez is playing nearly at 100%. Although, Tim, here recently, he's starting to play like the A-Rod we've seen for better than a decade. I mean, the overall numbers are not going to be where you're used to seeing, 40 home runs, 120 batted in, that kind of thing. But he is getting better as the season moves forward.
Yeah, I think defensively, he's playing third base, and the third baseman is the closest to the hitter defensively.
The shortstop couldn't find the handle. That was ugly every which way, starting with a pitcher, the bobble by Nix, then a throw that goes into the dugout.
The only guy closer on the defense, I was going to say, coincidentally, is the pitcher. And that ball eluded John Danks. By the time Nix made the play, he throws it away, and A-Rod goes to second base. But my point was, playing third base, you're almost penalized when you're coming back from an injury like A-Rod was. With the hip injury, balls that stay down, for instance, he can't reach because he can't bend over. Whereas if you're playing second base, shortstop, or the outfield, a lot easier, as you see Danks, a ball that could have been fielded, and then the overthrow of third, and the Yankees have a man on at second and nobody out.
Of course, Mike Lowell going through a similar situation with his hip.
Exactly.
For the Boston Red Sox. Put a leadoff man aboard at second after the throwing error by Nix. And here's Jorge Posada. 13 home runs, 47 batted in. And he checks in with a .277 batting average. Fouls it off out of play to the first base side. It's a ball and a strike on Posada, who in his career is 3 for 4 against Danks, including a home run. Told you the White Sox won the first 2 games of this series coming off a horrific road trip, which they went 1-6 against division rivals Detroit and Minnesota. I mean, the Metrodome has been a house of horrors for a number of seasons now for this White Sox team. They were swept there. When they left to begin the road trip, they were tied with Detroit atop the American League Central. And they dropped 3 or 4 there.
Dropped the first 3, won the 4th, and that was after the Mark Burley perfect game on that Thursday.
This will be a non-productive out for Posada. Not only the out, but fails to advance Alex Rodriguez. 1 away in the inning.
That's a play, however, Tom, when the shortstop, if you're the runner at second base and there's nobody out, shortstop goes to his right. He has to concentrate so much on catching the ball that you can take third after the play. Now, with A-Rod, there's no way to do that. But you can see the concentration of a guy like Jason Nix, particularly a guy who just made an error, a throwing error. He's going to make sure he catches the ball. But after the throw, you can go to third. It's an old Harry Walker play, and Harry was criticized a lot as a hitting instructor about trying to get too many guys to hit the ball the other way. But he came up with some very sound baseball solutions.
Second baseman Robinson Cano at .307. 16 home runs, 56 runs batted in. The only knock on Cano, and certainly there aren't many of them, but he has not hit well when runners are on base. They're expecting big things in the second half from Cano, and why not? He had a monster July. That has been the best month in his very young career. The 0-1 pitch on Cano. Fastball up and in. Cano, a .210 batter with runners in scoring position on the season. Those are the numbers, however, in the month of July. Today, the first day of August. Swinging a foul ball back out of play.
That's a good job by Danks, impressing Cano inside. I think if you're going to be a starting pitcher, that's the one thing that you have to do, is impress left-handed hitters inside. If you're a reliever, you can come into a game in the 7th, 8th inning where you need to get that one out, then you can go away from it. But as a starter, when you're going to face a left-hander 3 or 4 times, you've got to impress him inside and then go away. 2 straight fastballs in. We'll see where Danks goes here. Probably away.
Set up away and just missed that outside corner. A lot of the numbers for some of these Yankee hitters, which are very good numbers against Danks, are very misleading. He has not pitched against this team since 2007, and you got to remember, at that time he was 21, had just turned 22, and came up with the Texas Rangers. He was not the pitcher now that he was then. This is a polished, rock solid major league left-hander who, good Lord willing, he stays healthy. This guy's going to win a lot of games.
Got that right.
3-2 on Robinson Cano. Struck him out. Looked like a high changeup.
Yeah. When you throw the changeup like the fastball, you can make a mistake like that up in the zone. Good changeup. from John Danks. Don Cooper, the pitching coach, telling me exactly what you were talking about, Tom, about 2 years ago, that Danks was so far off when he came from Texas to the White Sox. And he said we had a lot to do, and we had to do it at the major league level, and we had to do it with a contending team, and there's a big difference in that. Doing it with a contender as opposed to a team that's climbing upward.
I want to get back to something you brought up a moment ago before the top of the first inning came to an end, as strike one is delivered to Melky Cabrera, about waiting a little longer on a left-hander as opposed to a right-hander. In the air over towards the stands, first base side, and nicely bunned by Konerko.
And that's exactly what you have to do. If you're an organization, you have to be much more patient with young left-handers than you do with right-handed pitching.
Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Gillette Body Wash, sponsored by Bud Light Lime, the drinkability of Bud Light with the refreshing taste of lime. Lights on this mostly cloudy, turning into a very windy Saturday afternoon on the south side of Chicago. Scoreless game. And Paul Konerko leads things off against A.J. Burnett in the White Sox second. A first pitch breaking ball snaps in there, a strike. A nice bounce-back season for Konerko, who's on his way to shattering nearly every offensive record should he stay with the White Sox before his career is over. A lot of those records held by a guy who was here seemingly forever, of course, the great Frank Thomas. But Konerko injured a lot last year. 20 home runs, a .286 average with 68 knocked in. I'm a little surprised the team did not bring in Frank Thomas at some point so far during this season.
It seems to me that Frank and his agent waited too long. Seems like they should have made the push in the middle of spring training. I didn't even know he was available. I thought he'd retired until 2 months into the season.
And I'll bet you there are a lot of clubs out there that probably thought the same thing you did. Yeah. By the time you heard about it, you're thinking, oh, yeah, but it's June.
Yeah, exactly.
Two and two on Konerko. Pierzynski to follow, and then Carlos Quentin. There's that breaking ball that hung up a little bit, fouled away off to the first base side.
There's not a pitcher in baseball who can make mistakes with a breaking ball like Burnett can. That's how much break he has. That last pitch, a hanger right in the inside part of the plate, a ball that Konerko normally handles very well. But with Burnett, it's a different curveball. It sweeps, it breaks down, it goes away from a right-handed batter.
Barely getting a piece of it, Konerko.
There's that pitch we were talking about a couple of pitches ago. You see Posada setting up outside, that ball hanging inside. That's a hanger. But with Burnett, it either sweeps or drops.
I got to ask you, Tim, the wind has really picked up here. I mean, it's got to be blowing 25, 30 miles per hour. Now, on the field, because you're down in a bowl, it's not nearly as dramatic as, say, the flags are in straightaway center field, but you can see the players' jerseys rippling in the wind. Does that affect a breaking ball or a guy's ability to throw a breaking ball?
I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, it might, but I don't think so. Certainly affects a knuckleball.
Shot into right field, a sinking liner that's caught by Nick Swisher for the first out. We're talking about Jake Peavy, and finally okaying a trade literally minutes before the deadline at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central yesterday. Ken Rosenthal, you did a lot of legwork talking to both Kenny Williams, the general manager of the White Sox, Kevin Towers, the general manager of the Padres. Why the change of heart?
Well, Tom, that's a great question. May 20th, this trade was presented to Jake Peavy. He has the full no-trade clause, and he said, I'm not ready to go yet. And there was a lot of talk at the time that he didn't want to go to the American League, to a very hitter-friendly ballpark. Well, they made the call again yesterday. It was 12:20 p.m. West Coast time, just 40 minutes before the deadline. He was taking a nap with his son, and then he had to make the decision again. And I asked him before the game, why the change of heart?
We had left it in May, as open-ended. We weren't saying no, for the long term, just no at the time, and obviously it was revisited. And I don't think this wouldn't have come to pass in May. I certainly don't think a deal could have gotten done, but I'm happy it did. I'm glad for both sides. I think both sides, got what they wanted out of the deal, and I'm excited to be here today and excited to be a Chicago White Sox.
The words from Jake Peavy. I tell you, Kenny Williams is a guy who is not afraid to roll the dice. He gave up a lot to get Peavy, clearly wanting him very early this season. Peavy will not pitch for the White Sox at least till the end of August. Right now he's on the disabled list in a game, ironically, against the Chicago Cubs running the bases. He injured his ankle and has been on the DL ever since. But no arm problem, no elbow, no shoulder, nothing like that. So Kenny Williams said, I'm not worried about any of that. And they only have, 3 more games? Kenny Williams told us before the game today where they're going to need a number 5 starter. So it's not like, you're going 3 or 4 full turns over the next 30 days having to use a guy that might have problems getting people out. So they can wait a little while on Peavy, and boy, it's a solid resume.
Ken Williams telling us before the game that there's a stretch where they play Boston, the Yankees, and Minnesota.
Carlos Quentin, the base hit into right field.
And that's when they want Jake Peavy ready to go.
Carlos Quentin back healthy again. Well, if they get everybody back to full strength and get right, how about Carlos Quentin hitting in the 7-hole?
Guy who was 5th in the MVP voting last year. A lot of people forget that. Having in 100 runs, 36 home runs, and missed 6 weeks of the season.
There's another young player they like very much. Second baseman Chris Getz. Of course, they're without their shortstop, Alexi Ramirez, who injured an ankle during the Minnesota series. They're hoping to have him back tomorrow. Breaking ball stays high. I mean, what are you talking about? Getz and where he ranks among all American League rookies in various categories, or Gordon Beckham. Beckham has played in far fewer games, but I mean, they've got a couple of guys that they can start to look to build this entire infield around and this entire club around.
Talked about it so many times. The toughest thing for an organization to do at the major league level is to win and develop. And that's what the White Sox are doing. They're winning, and they're developing young talent. It's very difficult to do with the demands of your fan base in this day and age. You're dealing with a lot more impatient public today than you were 25, 30 years ago.
Two and oh the count on Getz with 2 on and 1 out. And there's a strike. But, you know, Tim, it goes back to something when you and I did a Mets game about a month ago. And I asked you the question because it seems to me that the two teams that play in New York are doing less of that than even big market teams in Chicago, big market teams in Los Angeles. Staying with young players. There's a liner to center field, and it's a base hit. They're going to hold Pierzynski at third, so the bases are loaded.
Bottom part of the lineup. Tell you, if I'm Jeff Fox, the third base coach, I've got to send Pierzynski. And you could almost see Quentin running from first and looking to see whether Pierzynski was going to be sent home. This ball is not hit that hard to center field. Pierzynski appeared to have a good jump, but then held up by Jeff Fox. Of course, there's only 1 out, but you do have the bottom of the order up.
So Nick's playing in place of the injured Alexi Ramirez has a chance with the bases loaded after 3 straight 1-out singles against A.J. Burnett. Scoreless game in the second, but they're loaded with 1 out. Fastball up and away. Burnett falling behind a number of hitters in this second inning. He fell behind the first batter of the game, That gave up a 2-1 pitch that was a base hit into right field, but then got ahead of Beckham, Dye, and Tomey. Retired the side thereafter. Threw that one right by him, a ball and a strike. A.J. Burnett, you go back to that poor start he had, not even getting through 3 innings back on the 9th of June against Boston. And he said after the game, I will get this thing rolling in the right direction. And boy, he's backed up what he promised. As that one is swung on and fouled away since that loss to the Red Sox. A team, of course, which the Yankees had not beaten all year.
0-8 against the Red Sox.
Burnett is 6-1 with an earned run average at 1.68. He said, I've done a better job adhering to the game plan we put together. And he's staying in better sync with Jorge Posada, which apparently was some kind of a problem early in the year. 1-2 to Nix. Burnett trying to put him away. And a check swing on a pitch down to even the count at 2-2.
Nix laying off the curveball. Burnett does not throw a lot of curveballs for strikes. They look like they're strikes, but they're not. And that's the best type curveball to throw.
Big pitch right here. Burnett not wanting to go to 3 balls and 2 strikes.
And for that reason, it's interesting you say that, because catchers are trained on 2-2 counts in tight situations to call for the best pitch a pitcher can get over. And in this particular instance, it's a fastball. So there is no doubt in my mind that Burnett wanted to throw one pitch and Posada wanted the other one. And when that happens, you've got to go out and talk about it. That prevents all the second guessing between yourselves.
And that's what we talked about just a second ago, getting in sync with Posada.
Right.
Well, here comes that 2-2 pitch. Let's see what they go with. Fastball, and tardy is Nix, but he fouls it away to hang in there. This summer, please join Major League Baseball and the people all-stars among us in your community by signing up to volunteer at MLBGoBeyond.com.
The reason on a 2-2 count that you throw the pitch that a pitcher can most get over the plate is you don't want to go to 3-2 and then have a pitch that's more predictable. Right now, it's still unpredictable.
Came with another fastball, back-to-back 2-2 fastballs, one fouled away, that one up and in, so here we go at 3-2.
Now, if you're Jason Nix right here, you're thinking fastball. It's just like a 2-0, 2-1, 3-1 pitch. This pitch has got to be predictable.
Goes Burnett. Does he have the gumption here to throw that 3-2 breaking ball?
I don't think so.
Well, here it comes. Fastball, and he walks in a run. One nothing White Sox.
Go through the sequence. The fastball misses. Now at the count 1-1, the curveball. Nix in the hole, fights off a very tough 1-2 pitch, and then walks on a 3-2 fastball that's low. That was a terrific at bat by Jason Nix.
You know, it makes you wonder, Timmy, sitting up here, because I thought you made a great point about Posada coming out before the 2-2, and they must have been disagreeing on what it is they wanted to do. And I always find myself sitting here wondering who wanted to go with a fastball, who wanted to go with a breaking ball, because after the meeting they throw 3 straight fastballs.
Yeah.
Who won that conversation?
Well, a lot of times the catcher wins, but the pitcher throws 3 straight balls out of the strike zone.
And then the catcher's a dummy, right?
Yeah, right. Well, you know, talk about predictable. There's nothing predictable about relationships between pitchers and catchers. Nothing.
Ball 1 on the fastball to Posednik. But a base hit into right field his first time up. First bases loaded walk this season.
Here's another situation. 1 ball, no strikes. Going to be a fastball. More than anything else for a major league hitter, that's what you try to do when you are up at the plate. Get a situation where you can look for one pitch and get it. That's how you fatten an average and put your team on top.
2-0. Bouncing ball to right field, a base hit. 1 run scores. Here comes a throw to the plate. Sliding in safely is Getz. A 2-run single for Posednik. 3-0 Chicago.
So again, Burnett falling behind 2-0, and Posednik, like he did in the first inning, he had a 2-1 fastball to right field, a 2-0 fastball to right field to give the White Sox a 3-0 lead.
So now Gordon Beckham, who struck out his first time up. Advancing on to third is Nix. On the throw home. On to second went Posednik. And a first pitch breaking ball this time is outside for ball 1. That ball hammered into right field. And over the head of Swisher, it'll bring in 2 more. And the rookie Beckham, a 2-run double, gives the White Sox a 5-0 lead. That ball was smoked. And boy, you love seeing young players that can not only hit it, but drive it the other way.
Not to belabor this, but think of the last 3 hitters. A 3-2 walk on a fastball, a 2-0 fastball that was hit to right field, and now a 1-0 fastball drilled to right field. So the White Sox, you talk about game plan, those are 2 words that were really borrowed from football. But the game plan of the White Sox is working. Get ahead of Burnett and then hit the fastball. And that's what they've done in this inning in the 3rd.
Still only 1 out. Beckham at second base. And Jermaine Dye looks at a first pitch fastball right down the can. Strike 1, pitch number 30 already in this 2nd inning for A.J. Burnett. Another base hit will bring in another run. 6-0.
Somebody could tell me how to figure this game out. I mean, the Yankees coming to Chicago 2 nights ago, the hottest team in baseball. They lose 3-2. They get thumped 10-5 last night. And now they have their hottest pitcher in baseball starting today. And we're in the second inning and the White Sox are up 6-0. Go figure.
What Joe Girardi saying. Well, he talked about the White Sox on their just completed 1-6 road trip. They couldn't buy a hit with runners in scoring position. And here they are, 11 for 21 in the first 2 games and 2 innings of this series against the New York Yankees. Now Tomey, he had a rocket at the second baseman Cano, who is playing in shallow right center field with a runner at first. Cano cannot play there in this at-bat.
Even at its highest level, baseball remains a simple game. Strike one.
Tomey, the 9th man to bat in what has been thus far a 6-run Chicago second inning against A.J. Burnett. Breaking ball up and away. So much emphasis for so long has been put on that first pitch in the at-bat. And now it's kind of evolved to where you are at the end of the third pitch in the at-bat as well. If you even the count after the first pitch, meaning you fall behind ball one, but if you come back for strike one to go 1-1, it's almost like beginning the at-bat in some levels, or according to some out there anyway. And what happens on the 1-1 pitch?
You have to start with the premise that most pitchers do not like to pitch behind in the count, and most hitters love to hit ahead in the count. Now that is certainly true.
Numbers bear it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
With staggering differential.
Oh, unbelievable. You think about it on a day in, day out basis. How many pitchers you've seen who pitch well behind in the count?
Runner on the go. Will stay out of the double play. The feed from Ransom to Burnett, and that is a second out of the inning, and Guy on to second base. Konerko coming up. 7 consecutive batters have reached base safely against Burnett between outs. David Robertson getting loose in the New York bullpen. First time in a long while A.J. Burnett has had an outing like this one. Breaking ball, strike one to Konerko. This is the first time since May the 22nd that Burnett has allowed more than 3 earned runs in a start. The worst game he pitched this season against Boston back at the end of April, in 5 innings gave up 8 earned runs. A slow roller to Jeter. And that's that. 10 men back. 6 of them scored. Major League Baseball on Fox is brought to you by Gillette Body Wash. Top of the third inning. And a 6-0 White Sox lead, scoring all 6 runs in the second inning against A.J. Burnett. New York Yankee debut for Jerry Hairston Jr. in a city, of course, where he grew up watching his father play. From 1973 to 1977, Jerry Hairston Sr. played here, came back in '81, and played until 1989, swinging a foul ball out of play. And, of course, his daddy, the all-time White Sox leader in pinch hits, played over 800 games with the White Sox. Came over yesterday from Cincinnati.
Jerry's granddad played for the Sox in 1956. One of three-generation families to play in the major leagues: the Bells, the Boones, and the Hairstons.
Hairston, an extremely versatile player, has started 33 games at third this year, 31 games at short, 9 at second, 9 in left, 5 in right, 3 in center. I mean, he can play everywhere, and really is a pretty good defender everywhere. He may not be an everyday player at any one of those positions, but he will never hurt you. Three-2 to Hairston. We'll do it again on the foul tip. Hairston to be followed by Cody Ransom and Derek Jeter. Now, we're talking about the highest scoring team in Major League Baseball here, the New York Yankees. So they may be down 6 runs, but we're only in the third inning. And there is plenty of thunder up and down that Yankee lineup. They have 6 players that have 15 or more home runs already this season. Three-two pitch. There's ball 4 up and in. Well, let's take a DirecTV game break and check in with Chris Rose. Chris.
All right, Tom. Rays started the day 6 back of the Yankees in the AL East. Jason Bartlett was the last out of Mark Burley's perfect game. Here he places it perfectly down the right field line, and it's a little league action. Whee! Alberto Castro throws it away, so Bartlett scores 3 runs on the play. It's 3-zip in the third. Remember to follow your favorite out-of-market team only on DirecTV. Tom?
Mr. Rose, thank you very much. Nice to have you in the Windy City. It's nice to know that you actually left California for a change. I mean, Chris is a Midwest guy. So he's got to get back here every now and again. Cody Ransom starts today at first base. Of course, he began the year as a regular third baseman when Alex Rodriguez was out. That one popped up. Pitcher can't find it. Beckham the call and the catch, 1 away.
Hey, Tommy, it's Rose out here. You ought to see my boarding pass. It's been stamped everywhere in this country. I've left the state of California several times this year.
Well, I haven't seen you. I guess you only show up when McCarver and Joe are around.
No, that's true.
That's right.
True. I thought Buck
Not
was
the rest of us stiffs when we're around.
I hear you, brother. I thought Buck was doing the game. That's why I flew out here all the way. Now that it's you,
So did Tim. So did Tim. He just couldn't get a plane out of town quickly enough.
Tom, it's good to see you.
Great to see you as always.
Yes.
1 out, 1 on, and now the batter is Derek Jeter.
Now, football season right around the corner.
Yes, it is. Looking forward to it. And of course, Chris has been our host of our coverage of the BCS on Fox, crowning a national champion here on Fox each of the last 3 years. Want to know that Jeter, a check swing, he went around. Well, that's a nasty pitch right there by Danks. It looked so good, and then just disappeared.
That's why when you get a contact hitter like Derek Jeter with a check swing, you know how good that pitch was. You don't see Jeter swing at the first pitch like he did the first time up, or check swing like he's done the second time up.
You know, Timmy, you see the Yankees a lot. I rarely see the Yankees, and I think sometimes, it's like the way you treat your wife, and you say things to her and you think, why would you do that to people you spend the most time around or treat them that way? I always look at Derek Jeter and I just marvel And maybe some Yankee fans have taken him for granted. There's a bullet up the third baseline that'll be for extra bases. Quinton gets to it. They're going to hold the runner at third. So Jeter with his 20th double of the season. I just look at this guy and getting a chance to watch him play. And what a remarkable career Derek Jeter has had.
Remarkable consistency.
Yes.
I mean, when you're second to Lou Gehrig, there's Derek's dad at the ballpark today. But when you're second to Lou Gehrig in hits, I mean, think about that as far as an epic comment that you can make about a baseball player. Second to Lou Gehrig.
Yeah. I mean, look at some of the numbers. Obviously, he will get, more than likely, will get the 3,000 hits, the winning percentage, the highest among all active players. Of course, you know about the 10 All-Star games, the 4 World Series rings, the Rookie of the Year award, all-time postseason leader in so many categories. This one has popped up and will not get in the run by Nick Swisher. 2 gone in the inning. At the same age, how does Derek Jeter stack up to baseball's all-time hit king? Right there you see where they are in hits. Through 35 years of age, 36 days. Of course, Rose went on 42-56. Jeter will not break that record. No, not going to happen. No. You know the one, though, that Pete Rose talks about? I just saw him this week. Back-to-back nights he was in Cincinnati at the ballpark. The one statistic that Pete Rose talks about, and really the only one he talks most about himself, are the number of games he played in where his team won, which is the most of any player that has ever put on a uniform in professional sports. 1,971 wins. That means a player who comes to the big league today could play for 19 straight years on a team that won 100 games for 19 straight years, and they still would not be in as many winning games as Pete Rose.
Boy, that is great.
Is that amazing?
Oh, that's great.
But Derek Jeter is first among all active players in that category. This guy's been in over 1,200 winning games.
So he's still 700 wins behind Pete Rose.
That one, it makes you wonder if he doesn't have a shot at it.
With this organization.
And there's a base hit into right field by Teixeira that will score 2. We talked about this Yankee team, more than enough time to get back in it. And the 6-run lead is down to 4. Teixeira with 77 runs batted in this season.
Good hitting by Teixeira. Fastball away from Danks. And Mark just lines it to right field to drive in the first 2 Yankee runs. You know, the other thing about Derek Jeter, and a very, very important thing, other than his ability, is the demeanor to survive in New York City. That implacable will that he has to play on a consistent basis day in and day out. To answer the questions of the media, but never to go overboard, never to be rude, never to appear arrogant. Always, it doesn't matter what happens to the New York Yankees and all of the problems that can be in the media capital of the world like New York.
And some of those have clearly gone the other way for Alex Rodriguez.
Yes, exactly. Night and day.
1-on-1 on Rodriguez. Reached on an error by the shortstop Nix his first time up, and now he's behind at 1-2.
I remember Pete Rose's boast at one time. He told me, "I have never been booed in a white uniform." And you think about that.
Oh, yeah.
And Derek Jeter has never been booed in a white uniform. Now, I know he got a few, like 10 years ago or something like that, but for the most part, forget about it. Doesn't happen.
2 runs in the Yankee third. 6-2 Chicago. A.J. Burnett leading the New York Yankees 6-2 after winning the first 2 games of this series. One more to go tomorrow. And what a pitching matchup it will be in the series finale here mañana. CC Sabathia of the Yankees and Mark Burley of the Chicago White Sox. Fly ball to Swisher. One away. We caught up with Mark Burley in between innings. Of course, life has changed, has it not? Been a lot of fun since that perfect game.
Yeah, it's been fun and hectic. Obviously trying to do a lot of interviews and getting everything done in between starts, but still trying to get prepared for your next start and try not to let any of this affect what's going on.
One of those interviews, Mark. It's all fun and games. Winners laugh and tell jokes, right?
Oh, yeah. Everybody's having a good time with it, and everything that gets brought up in the clubhouse is, oh, Mr. Perfect's doing this, or Mr. Perfect told me to go do that. So everybody's having a good time with it.
In a very short period of time, you have said Mr. President to a certain interviewer.
Yes, it was kind of weird him requesting an interview. As after the game, I was in the press conference doing an interview, and they said, hey, this is the last question. He's got to go talk to the president. Actually got goosebumps. I kind of thought it was a joke at first, but that's really, you can make up something else to make a joke other than that.
Mark, on a baseball note, what's the acquisition of Jake Peavy mean to you and your team?
Oh, it's huge. Obviously, this next month is going to be a battle to get through. Obviously, losing a guy like Clayton. The guy was great in the clubhouse, great teammate. San Diego's picking up a good guy, but this next month's going to be a battle for us to try to stay into it until he gets here, and hopefully we are. And I think in September and a little bit part of October, we get into the playoffs, and he's going to be a huge bump for us.
Mark, congratulations on everything. Thanks for the time today.
Thanks, guys.
One away here in the White Sox third inning. A check swing on a 2-1 pitch to Carlos Quentin. He did not go around. 3 balls and a strike. Mark talking about the final week and a half of August and what the White Sox will be staring down as they take to the road, and they're hoping to have Jake Peavy back for that ball in the air to left center field. Plenty of room out there for Cabrera, and they're 2 away. That final week and a half of August, the White Sox go play 4 games at Fenway Park against the Red Sox, 3 at Yankee Stadium, followed by a 3-game series in Minnesota.
That could well determine whether the White Sox play in the postseason or not.
White Sox, a couple of more series this season, still against Detroit, a couple of more against Minnesota. And those are the 3 primary contending teams in the American League Central. Going into play today, White Sox a game and a half behind the Tigers. Minnesota just 2 back. And of course, each of those teams went out and made a major deal to improve itself.
They're better. That's right. Jared Washburn signing with the Tigers, Orlando Cabrera going to the Minnesota Twins, and of course the Peavy deal with the White Sox.
Were you surprised the Yankees did not make a bigger move than Jerry Hairston Jr.?
I don't think so. No.
Really?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of it was based on the way the Yankees have played over the last couple of months.
1, 2, 3, 4, Burnett. Yankees right back to the plate, trailing by 4. sponsored by Valspar Paint. Valspar, the beauty goes on. By Avidart. And by Chevy. Jorge Posada, Robinson Cano, Melky Cabrera to start things against John Danks and the Yankee Ford, trailing 6-2. Posada grounded out to the shortstop. His only time up. He's down, strike one. Two hopper down to Beckham. Then the shortstop turned third baseman. Fields it cleanly, throws to Konerko, one away. You can now find Fox Sports on both MySpace and Facebook. Get breaking news, video clips, widgets, and more. Just go to myspace.com/Fox Sports or facebook.com/Fox Sports and join the community.
Widgets. Is that 101 business course? Widgets.
I better get with the program.
Listen, I'm still doing things longhand. Are you kidding me?
You know, Tim, I brought up a moment ago, I asked you the question, and you said no, you were not surprised about the Yankees not doing more, making more of a splash at the trade deadline. And Ken Rosenthal, you know as well as I do, the deals can still be made. There's a ground ball by Cano to the first baseman, Konerko, two away, especially players out there who have contracts with another year or two on them that more than likely would not be claimed by somebody else to block a deal.
Tom, you're absolutely right. The problem for the Yankees is that there won't be many quality starting pitchers in that category. Now, they did try to make a move. They tried to get Jared Washburn. The Mariners asked for their top center field prospect, Austin Jackson. They inquired about Felix Hernandez, the great Mariners right-hander. He has 2 years remaining under club control after this one. The Red Sox also asked about Hernandez, but the Mariners really only wanted to be knocked out. Finally, they wanted to address their bullpen by adding Heath Bell, and the price there was too high as well.
A routine ground ball to Nix, and he commits his second error of the afternoon.
Heath Bell on the All-Star team. In fact, he was a losing pitcher for the National League in the All-Star game. But the reemergence of Brian Bruni, I think, has the Yankees feeling a lot more comfortable about their setup guys. Getting to Mariano Rivera.
I just wonder when all is said and done, if their starting pitching is good enough to win the whole thing. Because look, let's face it, I know the Yankees didn't make the playoffs last year for the first time in 13 years.
Right.
But the Yankees are an organization that is built to think about winning the World Series, not just a divisional championship.
Well, that's a mistake. You don't tell your fan base that anything less than a World Series championship is what this season's all about. And if that were the case, I mean, think about 29 disappointing teams if that were the case for everybody.
No, I know.
I think
agree
that's
with you
a marketing mistake.
Okay. But you know what I'm saying internally, though, and Brian Cashman is getting all the baseball people together. They're thinking about winning the whole thing, aren't they?
Well, that's a marketing. I don't know if it's a ruse or not, but that's their marketing plan to tell everybody that if we don't win a World Series, that we're not having a good year. I think that's a mistake.
Base hit into right center field by Jerry Hairston Jr. So in his first game as a Yankee, he's drawn a walk, scored a run, and now a base hit.
But because if you take that approach, we see Don Cooper coming out and talking to John Danks. If you take that approach, then you take the approach that if you spend the most money, you're going to win a world championship. And that's been proven wrong year in and year out.
By them.
Yeah, by them, exactly.
But getting back to the starting pitching, I mean, you know, CC Sabathia, we know what he's capable of doing. He's having a good, solid year. Not a great year, a good, solid year. Burnett has had a great run up until today. Really good year overall.
Jabba Chamberlain, since the All-Star game, 3-0.
But they had this innings limit that they want to go with Chamberlain.
I don't know if I buy that. You know, if 140 to 170 innings, I don't know. That's one of those modern things that you come up with. I mean, who decides these things? What doctor's ever said, you know, you're 23, I think 140 to 170 innings is about your limit? Show me the doctor who says that. I mean, if you're 23 years old, you can't pitch 200 innings? Come on.
Oh, and 1 to go. He ran. Well, the old catcher's getting fired up here. Runners on the corners with 2 away. And it's a ball and a strike. You mean they weren't thinking about that like in the 50s and 60s when you were catching guys?
Well, I mean, you know, if I say it, people are going to say, well, yeah, but there was another time in your life and in baseball's life and all that. And absolutely, that's true. But, you know, it's just gotten to the point of overkill where they protect these young pitchers' arms. And the more they protect them, the more guys fall out on them.
Swing and a miss, 1 and 2. Of course, that's something Nolan Ryan's trying to change, that whole culture down in Texas. We'll see how that plays out.
Well, that is exactly right. In fact, good changeup from Danks. In fact, Texas was last. They were 30th in the major leagues last year and going deep into the game. This year, they're 6th in Nolan Ryan's 2nd year. I love it.
2-2 to Ransom. His threat started with a 2-out error by the shortstop Nix, allowing Cabrera to reach. He went to 3rd on a single by Christian, but the strikeout of Ransom ends the inning. After 3.5 in Chicago, White Sox 6, Yankees 2. For Chicago, White Sox lead 6-2, all 6 runs coming in the 2nd inning when 7 straight batters reached base after A.J. Burnett retired the very first batter in that inning. One and one to Nix, who drew a bases loaded walk to bring in the first of those 6 runs in the inning. 2 balls and a strike. Burnett has fallen behind 3-1 to Nix. He'll be followed by Pasetnik and Gordon Beckham.
One of the biggest at-bats in that 6-run second inning was that bases loaded walk by Nix when he fought back from a 1-2 count. Down in the hole 1-2, 3 straight balls from Burnett.
Served into right center field, and that is a base hit. It'll go all the way to the wall. This may be 3 bases, and Nix thinks better of it. As Swisher quickly hits a cutoff man, it's a leadoff double. We caught up with Joe Girardi in between innings and asked him, did he see anything that led to the 6 runs against A.J. Burnett in that second inning?
Just too much in the middle of the plate. His fastball seemed to be running back towards the middle of the plate, and he hasn't had an inning for us like that all year, so it's been somewhat shocking.
And falling behind in the count, there's a lot to be said about strike 1, huh, Joe?
Well, it's the most important strike. You know, I mean, you get ahead of hitters and you put him on the defense, and he's been really good, and this is the first day that, you know, we've seen him not do that in a long time.
Joe, the way you feel about your club right now, what? You've had a real nice 2-month-plus run here. Last couple of days have been rough, but your feelings overall about where your team is?
I like where our team's at. I mean, we're a game ahead in our division, and we know it's a very tough division, but we've played very well. It seems like since Alex came back, our team has really taken off, and since the break, we played very well. And it seems like when we run into these little tough streaks, we bounce back very well.
Were you surprised your team didn't do a little more at the deadline?
Well, I don't think it's from lack of effort. I just think that sometimes, you know, other clubs will ask for a little bit too much, and I still believe that there'll be a substantial amount of action in the month of August just because of, you know, teams trying to cut some payrolls.
Joe, thanks as always for the time. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
I thought that was a telling answer, Tom. Substantial amount of action in the month of August. Big words.
Sails up and away, 2-1 to Scott Pasetnik. Ken Rosenthal, your thoughts?
There will be a lot of action in August, Tom, because players will get through waivers, especially expensive players. Teams will not want to risk claiming them and getting stuck with the contract. But as I said before, those players are not going to include great starting pitchers. And where the Yankees could get in trouble is if they have an injury.
Bouncing ball fielded by Cano. Burnett covering the bag. That's a productive out by Pasetnik, advancing Nix on to third. Kenny.
They don't have that much depth really beyond what they have right now. You could always pull Phil Hughes out of the bullpen or Aceves back in the rotation, but that would weaken what has become a surprising strength. And then at AAA, there really isn't much at all. So that is why they needed a starting pitcher at the deadline.
Well, the 2 names you heard most prominently mentioned, or at least those that were in the mix, both pitch in Cincinnati. Aaron Harang and Bronson Arroyo, the one-time Boston Red Sox right-hander. Infield in now for Gordon Beckham. And there's a strike. And those are 2 guys that certainly fit the bill of what Ken is talking about. Each has 2 more years remaining on a contract that pays him a lot of dough. And there are very few teams that, A, would block that deal on a waiver claim, and even fewer still that could make that kind of trade and add that kind of payroll.
Speaking of blocking, that's what Jorge Posada is thinking about right now. Burnett leads the American League, leads the majors with 14 wild pitches. Almost all of them have come on breaking balls. So a very volatile situation right here for Posada. And with that in mind, you can't resort to the fastball and stay away from the pitch that gives you the most trouble. See, right now, count 2 balls and a strike. The breaking ball is the pitch to call for. And you can't not call for it if you have a problem with it in the dirt.
There it is. Swung on and missed for strike 2.
This is the best breaking ball he's thrown today to even the count to Beckham.
Beckham struck out his first time up, hit a 2-run double to right field in the second inning in that 6-run inning.
Having a tough time getting together like they did in that second inning.
On a 2-2 pitch. That was the count then.
That's right.
Right at Jeter. The runner stays put, 2 are out.
That's why you bring the infield in. Ball right at Jeter. And Nix can't score. Nix to Nix.
And now Jermaine Dye, the infield backs up to regular depth. Ball 1 low and away. Dye struck out in the first inning. Our RBI single to right in the second. Want to know to Dye. Good breaking ball there. We've seen a couple of good ones in this inning from A.J. Burnett. Runner at third, Nix with 2 away. And another good breaking ball. Down and away, and Dye missed that ball by a foot.
With the exception of the base hit with 1 out and nobody on by Pierzynski in the second inning, the White Sox have not made contact with the breaking ball. But again, that gives you an idea of how wicked that breaking ball is from A.J. Burnett.
1-2 on Dye. They set up away with another breaking ball that this time Dye does not chase. Going out there again. And another breaking ball, this time fouled away. I would imagine, Tim, as a catcher, when you notice your pitcher who maybe couldn't find the good breaking ball the first couple of innings, then as the game goes on, that pitch gets better and better. You start going to the well.
Yeah, that's a good observation, because that's exactly right. You can't give up on his best pitch. You have to try to bring it along. I think this is a fastball away to Dye.
High and away. Been a pretty good at bat here by Dye. I mean, he's not squaring anything up. But when you fall behind a guy like Burnett, 1-2, it's a good at bat to get it to full count. Payoff pitch. And he went around, says the home plate umpire Andy Fletcher, and that will retire the side. Runner stranded at third. 6-2 White Sox. Derek Jeter to start things in the New York fifth. New York Yankees here at the top of the 5th inning, trailing the White Sox, and John Dank 6-2. White Sox scored all 6 runs against A.J. Burnett in the 2nd inning. The Yankees scored twice in the 3rd against Danks on a 2-out, 2-run single by Mark Teixeira. He'll bat 3rd here in the 5th. Good fastball on the inside corner. It's 0-2 to Jeter. Derek has flied to right and doubled down the left field line. He scored on the base hit by Teixeira in the 3rd. Weekly grounded down to Beckham, 1 away. Take a look at our in-game box score for the Yankees, brought to you by Hyundai, introducing the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Good day for Teixeira. Very good debut for Jerry Hairston Jr., his first game with the Yankees. Now Nick Swisher 0 for 2 is struck out and popped up to right.
One of the things in the first half of the season, everybody became very aware of how easy it was to hit a home run out of Yankee Stadium. However, one of the odd categories of statistics, Steve Swisher has 17 home runs, and 14 have been hit on the road.
A rocket into the glove of Beckham.
I think I had his father. I don't think his father hit 17 home runs in his career. Steve Fisher, the commander, probably watching today. And I have it on my scorecard as Steve Swisher. I think that might be the second time I've called him Steve. I guess there are worse things to call a son whose father's name is Steve. Huh, Marty?
Indeed. That would not be the first nor the last. I hear the name Steve Swisher and have a chance to throw in a plug for my alma mater, the home as well of Bob Brenly and Mike Schmidt.
Ohio
Steve Swisher,
U.
Ohio University alum.
That's right.
0-2 the count on Teixeira, and that pitch is in the dirt. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Of course, Nick Swisher played at the Ohio State University, where he was a first-round draft pick by the Oakland Athletics. Of course, John Danks all of a sudden become a fan of Ohio State. His sister just signed a volleyball scholarship there and will begin this fall.
All right. Get out of here.
A perfect 5th for Mr. Danks. Go Buckeyes. o'clock Saturday baseball presented by the new Gillette Hydra Scrub Body Wash. A powerful clean without dry skin.
Tom, I see that skyline, and I think about the architectural tour down the Chicago River in this glorious city. What a fabulous. I'm not a real tour guy, nor a tour guide, or and not
or
really
a Sherpa guide or anything else, right?
Nothing. No Sherpa guides or anything. No. But that is one great trip to take. You see the architecture in this fabulous city.
Of course, all that taking place after the fire that destroyed this city.
In 1871.
2-0 on Jim Thome. Leading things off here in the White Sox 5th inning against A.J. Burnett. Burnett allowed 6 runs on 6 hits in the 2nd inning. He has allowed only 2 hits and nary a run in the 3 innings outside that one. That hit Thome's back. 2-2. That little guy just picked up a souvenir after apparently just getting something from the Tooth Fairy recently. Gone swinging is Jermaine Dye. Take a look at the in-game box score brought to you by Hyundai for the Chicago White Sox. Most of the damage, all the damage, runs-wise, done in that 6-run 2nd inning. Four strikeouts in the game now for Burnett, and here's Konerko. And he'll reach the painful way.
There was absolutely no way for Paul Konerko to get out of the way of this fastball who just runs in on his left thigh. That will be black and blue for a couple of weeks. Ouch.
Tough man right there, though, Konerko.
Broke in as a catcher with the Dodgers. That one stuck.
Now Pierzynski 1 for 2. He started that 6-run rally in the 2nd inning with a 1-out single against Burnett and later scored. Ball 1 away. Of course, Teixeira might be, well, he's the DH today, but normally their first baseman. He knows all about getting drilled after what took place earlier this week with Matt Garza. There's a base hit into right field by Pierzynski. Sounded like he broke his back, but muscled it into right. And the White Sox have 2 on with 1 out in the 6th inning. Time to take a look at our trivia question brought to you by Gillette. Casey Stengel and the powerful New York Yankees won 8 American League pennants during the 1950s. Can you name the manager who won the other 2? You know the answer to this?
I do.
Really?
I do.
Want to give anybody a hint out there?
No.
Okay.
No. If you give a hint, you almost have to give the answer.
How about there used to be a baseball stadium named after him?
Well, that's a good one.
Down the left field line and running out of room is Jerry Hairston Jr. And went tumbling into the stands. That's Hairston's style. He is all out all the time. Yankee fans are going to appreciate the way he plays the game.
Getting a nice round of applause, and he certainly deserves it after this effort right here. You know, for the most part, the only announcers that use the word effort are golf announcers. They'll say, nice effort. Rarely do you hear any other announcers. You don't hear that in football. You don't hear that in basketball. Rarely do you hear it in baseball, even though you just heard it. But nice effort. Why is that? I wonder.
I'm still trying to process that for a second.
But, you know, that a guy will make a nice putt or whatever and miss a putt, lip it out or something like that. Nice effort. You're that in golf more than in any other sport.
Hear a lot of coaches say it. 1-1 to Carlos Quentin with 2 on and 1 out. Breaking ball grounded foul up the third baseline to go to 1-2. Well, you don't mind if I start using that as a baseball announcer every now and
not
again?
at all.
Okay.
Not at all. It'd be refreshing. Johnny Miller will be proud of us.
You don't want to get on his bad side.
Oh, no, not on Johnny's bad side. No way, brother.
1-2 on Carlos Quentin. Pulled by a breaking ball, was able to put the bat on it. All right, now we know football season is right around the corner, and everything you used to know about fantasy football is about to change as we introduce the all-new Fox Fantasy Football with more features and new ways to play. You can log on to foxsports.com on MSN and join the next generation of fantasy football. Of course, the NFL season just a little over a month away. Preseason gets started here in the next couple of weeks. We are proud once again here at Fox Sports to be the home of the NFC and the coverage of the NFL on Fox. One and two to Carlos Quentin with 2 on and 1 out. Still 1-2 on Quentin. Started to. Did he go around? No, on the appeal to Greg Gibson.
This was close. It was a good call.
Urko at second, Pierzynski at first with 1 out, and the 2-2 to Quentin. Fastball outside and low to run the count full.
That's Phil Koch warming up, the left-hander for the Yankees, warming up in the bullpen. And I think if Burnett walks Quentin, Koch could be in there.
3-2 pitch. It's in the air. Deep right center field. Swisher to the track will run it down. And both runners stay put. But Burnett gets the out. And will he stay in to face Getz? Joe Girardi walking up a couple of steps in the dugout, right back down to ground level, and now up a couple of more.
Yeah, you could see Joe taking his hat off as if to say, was Koch ready? And he appears to be ready. Quentin hit that about 2 feet from the fence, but it looks like Burnett, and it's understandable. I mean, he's one of your top pitchers, even though he has not pitched well today. But it looks like he will be given the benefit of the doubt and a chance to complete this inning. In case the Yankees come back in the 6th, he could perhaps win a cheapie. Cheapie for a pitcher is when you give up 6 earned runs and you still get off the hook or you win the game.
There's other ways in baseball jargon to describe that as to vulture a win.
That's right.
Breaking ball in there, strike to Getz. But hey, you know, if you're going to win 20 games in a season, you know, that would probably not happen now with Burnett. I mean, you have to get on a real roll to get to 20 wins. But for guys that wins 20 games in a season, you're going to have 1 or 2 of those.
That's right. It's like a hitter getting broken back base hits like that.
Base hit into left field. They're going to hold the runner at third. And they are loaded. Now off for Nick. Second time Knicks will come to the plate in this game with the bases loaded. Let's take a look at the Taco Bell Bring the Heat pitching comparison. Both these guys roughly right around the same what they have on their fastball. Not a big differential at all. The pitch count, a dramatic difference between the two. Burnett has just thrown his 100th pitch of the game. And only 68 of them for John Danks.
Yeah, and the way both pitchers go about their jobs, Burnett primarily a two-pitch pitcher, fastball, curveball. And Danks with fastball, changeup, breaking ball.
This is a very, very, very big batter in this game. You get a base hit here and it puts you down maybe by 6 again, certainly by 5. But if you keep it right here at 4, still manageable. Ryan Bruni also warming up in the Yankee bullpen. Fastball on the outer edge, a ball and a strike. Miracle at third, Pierzynski at second base, gets on at first, 2 out in the inning. And it's a fastball low, 2-1 on Jason Nicks. See the numbers in this series. The White Sox have been dynamite in these situations. They could not buy a hit with a runner in scoring position on that just completed 1-6 road trip through Detroit and Minnesota. This is the most homer-friendly ballpark in Major League Baseball over the last 5 years. But the White Sox, until recently, have had a hard time scoring runs on the home turf. 2-2 to Nicks. And this time he threw him a 2-2 breaking ball. Now they're going to have another meeting. This was the very same batter where we go back to that second inning when the bases were loaded. The count went to 2-2 on Nicks. Clearly Burnett and Posada could not get on the same page. They had a conference on the mound. They came back with 3 fastballs in a row, 2 of which were fouled away, ultimately leading to ball 4 to walk in a run.
Having a tough time on 2-2 counts today.
So what's he throwing this time? Last time, 3-2 fastball. And this one, a 3-2 fastball that again walks in a run.
And that will be it, I'm sure, for Burnett.
Yep. That's all for A.J. Burnett, who had been on a sensational roll since getting knocked around by the Boston Red Sox on the 9th of June. A 6-1 record since then, and an ERA barely over 1.5. But today gives up 7 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. Bases are loaded for the White Sox. A run is scored here in the 5th inning to take a 5-run lead. It's a 7-2 game. Brian Bruni coming on from a Yankee bullpen to replace Burnett. And it's in there, strike to Posednik. Bruni trying to work his way back into that 8th inning role that right now Phil Hughes occupies, setting up Mariano Rivera. That is a foul ball and not by much. Bruni had a rocky outing the other night, but they've been very impressed with the way he's thrown the ball since coming back. Let's go back to the 2 walks to Jason Nix, both of them with the bases loaded.
3-2 pitches, fastballs, very, very close. This one back in the 2nd inning, and then here in the 5th inning, 2 RBI bases loaded walks in the same game, rather unusual.
And A.J. Burnett had not issued a bases-loaded walk since 2005. There's a fly ball to right field. Will end the inning, so Bruni avoids any further damage. 7 runs in 4 2/3 against A.J. Burnett today.
Great.
Presented by Gillette Body Wash, sponsored by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. By Catawet and by Bank of America Home Loan. Starting now, Home has a new address. Just off 35th Street on the south side of Chicago. The address for U.S. Cellular Field, the home of the White Sox, where they lead the Yankees 7-2 as New York bats in the 6th inning against John Danks, who quietly is turning in another rock-solid performance here today. Holding the highest scoring team in Major League Baseball to just 2 runs on 5 hits. That one lined into left field and over the head of Quinton. And is A-Rod going to try it? Yep, Quinton had a hard time apparently fielding that ball cleanly, so that's a leadoff double for Alex Rodriguez. Alex
Rodriguez is a very good base runner, and he made a terrible mistake in last night's ball game. With the Yankees trailing 10-5 in the 9th inning with the runner aboard, A-Rod not running hard out of the box. Now maybe you can cut him some slack and say that, well, the reason he wasn't running was because of the hit. But there is no way to cut him any slack in going to second base. You cannot do that. And here in this afternoon's game, this double hit hard and A-Rod running hard. But last night it was the decision to try to make it to second base. Terrible.
Now Posada, who came up with Alex Rodriguez at second base in the second inning. We talked about at the time an unproductive out for Posada. He failed to advance Rodriguez on to third. The Yankees wound up stranding Rodriguez at second base. Two and 0 on Jorge Posada. Ball 3. Banks has walked just one batter in the game. That was a leadoff walk to Jerry Hairston Jr. in the third inning, and he wound up scoring. Chris Rose standing by to bring you up to date on the developments at Turner Field in Atlanta, where the Dodgers are in town over the weekend. 3-0 pitch, and there's a strike. Of course, the Dodgers are the only team with a better record in all of Major League Baseball than the New York Yankees. Yankees at 62 up, 41 down. The Dodgers at 64 and 39. They are managed by Joe Torre. A pitch off the inside corner, and that's ball 4. All right, Chris Rose, the DirecTV game break. Tell us about the Dodgers and the Braves.
All right, Tommy. Well, I have an outstanding effort by Andre Ethier. His 4th homer since the All-Star break adds on to his career high 22nd of the year. That off his former teammate Derek Lowe gives the Dodgers a 3-2 lead in the 6th. Remember to follow your favorite out-of-market team only on DirecTV. Guys?
Chris, thank you very much.
Chris working on his potential as a golf announcer, perhaps. Good effort by Chris Rose.
Oh, that putt has no shot, Timmy. No shot. Came up a little short.
Pitch down low to Robinson Cano, and A.J. Krasinski says, hang on a minute.
It's not necessarily the way Danks is pitching as far as his stuff is concerned. But when you have a 5-run lead and give up a walk, that's not good.
And he's fallen behind Robinson Cano, 2-0. You can see out on the mound the body language of Danks. Getting very frustrated out there. Activity out in the bullpen begins now for the Chicago White Sox. As we're going to answer our trivia question brought to you by Gillette. All right, what's the answer, Tim? Casey Stengel led the Yankees to 8 American League pennants in the 1950s. Can you name the manager who won the other 2? Don't put it up.
Hal Lopez.
Bingo.
1954 with the Indians, 59 with the Go-Go White Sox, and the ballpark he had named after him was where the Cincinnati Reds used to train down in Tampa.
Exactly right. Reds were there forever at Al Lopez Field. Of course, that is now the spring training home of the Yankees in Tampa.
I remember Tony La Russa telling me stories about how Senor Lopez, who died, I think, at 96 a couple of years ago, used to play checkers with his dad in Ybor City. Tony and Lou Piniella grew up. A man universally respected in this game, Al Lopez.
3-0 now on Robinson Cano. You saw Tony Pena throwing in the bullpen. There's a strike. 3-1 to Cano. Pena came over from Arizona. He's cranking it up in a hurry. double, then back-to-back walks, and the Yankees all of a sudden have the bases loaded here in the 6th inning with nobody out.
Talk about the warts that mar the beautiful skin. Walks when you have a 5-run lead. Ooh. Managers can put up with anything. Guys getting hit hard, errors, base running mistakes. The one thing they do not put up with, walks with a 5-run lead. Nor should they.
There's Melky Cabrera. And there's ball 1 up and away. Ozzie Guillen, sweatshirt on, continuing to sit back down in that third base side dugout. There's a strike to even the count on Cabrera at 1-1. Cabrera's had so many huge hits for the Yankees this year. Most of them have come 7th, 8th, 9th innings. He has 3 hits at the end of the game to win games for the Yankees. There's a strike.
Now, Danks got the call there. That pitch was outside. A good job by Krasinski to pull that ball back in.
Pitch in the dirt, and it's 2-2. The Yankees only have 1 grand slam as a team this entire year. In fact, for as many great hitters as they have on this team, as a club, they're only batting .277 with the bases loaded. That is generally not regarded as a very good number in such situations. Line to the left, caught by Quentin. Rodriguez will not score. That's just tough luck for Cabrera.
If the Yankees had the lead or a tie ball game, I think Rodriguez tries to score on this ball. But when you're trailing by 5, your base running's much more conservative, and Rodriguez has to hold up. Not the arm of the left fielder, but the score of the game keeps you at 3rd.
One away in the inning, and now Jerry Hairston Jr. with the bases loaded and 1 out. Hairston in his first game with the Yankees after coming over from Cincinnati has walked, scored, single to right. And it's fisted in the shallow left center. It'll fall. A base hit, they're going to throw to 3rd, and they get the force out. So it's not a hit, it's a force out that scores a run. A fielder's choice, scored 7-5, give Hairston the RBI. That makes it a 7-3 game.
Excuse me, Tom, that was a heads-up play by Carlos Quentin. He decoyed initially, put the glove out, came up throwing. Had he hesitated a second, he does not get Posada at 3rd base. See, putting the glove out, and then the throw to 3rd gets Posada by a shoelace. Wow. Heads up play by Quentin.
Back-to-back games without field assist by Quentin. And now Cody Ransom with 2 on and 2 men out.
That's maddening for a hitter. I mean, you have a clunker drop in there, and you realize that the only reason that it wasn't a hit was the speed of the runner on at 2nd base.
0-1 to Ransom. Swing and a miss, 0-2. Certainly the Yankees, even with the bottom part of the order coming up, we're thinking much more than just 1 run after having loaded them up with nobody out. You wouldn't figure to be a lot of fooling around in this at-bat from John Danks. He knows who's standing in the on-deck circle. And all of a sudden, after getting ahead 0-2, it now goes to 2-2. We talked earlier in the game about the importance of this count in a situation where the base is loaded. Well, knowing who's on deck and Derek Jeter, knowing the score of the game, this becomes a very important 2-2 count with 2 out for John Danks. And he takes care of business. Yanks get 1 back. They'll trail by 4 after 5.5. And 3, let's take a look at our Flomax replay on that bleeder in the left a moment ago by Jerry Hairston Jr. Here's the call at third. Broken bat roller off the bat of Gordon Beckham. And an error by Derek Jeter.
This is a big league error right here, plain and simple. I signed when I was 17 years old with the St. Louis Cardinals, and the first catcher's mitt that I had as a professional was given to me by Bill Dickey, and I could not catch the ball in this mitt, and my teammates with the Cardinals used to call me McGigup, and the gigup was a frog going from one pond to the other. And because of that mitt, I got rid of that mitt because there were too many gigups in it.
Oh, yeah.
That was a major league gigup by Derek Jeter.
Fastball up and away.
McGigup. I did not like that name.
I would imagine you would not.
No. In the cruel ways of baseball players, they made it stick for about 3 years.
They say they're not going to let you up for breath.
No.
On the outside corner to Jermaine Dye. Brian Bruni on in relief of A.J. Burnett. 4 2/3 innings. Allowed 10 hits, 7 earned runs. Second most runs he's allowed in a game this season. Second only to 8 runs surrendered back in April against Boston. Two and one.
Baseball has some cruel humor.
2-1 on Jermaine Dye. You know, a lot of the humor you hear about in baseball, though, Timmy, I mean, I fear to some extent, and I'm not down there in the clubhouse as a player. I don't put on a uniform every day, but it seems like there was so much more of it in the past than some of that goes on now. Now, you'll get some veteran clubs with guys that have been around for a while. Like, I would imagine there's more of that on a Boston team or a Yankee team with guys who have been around in the big leagues for a long time that learned from guys when they first came up about it. More so than so many of these clubs that have gotten so young. I may be wrong on that.
No, I think that's right.
Speaking of the Boston Red Sox, they will renew their rivalry with the New York Yankees in the Bronx next Saturday. You'll be there, right, Tim?
Yep.
Red Sox and the Yankees, 4 o'clock Eastern. Was Boston perfect this year against the New York Yankees? The Yankees have leapfrogged them. They take the lead in the American League East going into play today by a game and a half. Strike 3 called to Dye. He did not like the call by Andy Fletcher.
Looks like a cut fastball from Brian Bruni, and that's a good pitch. That was either a slider or cut fastball. Sometimes from guys like Bruni, you really can't tell. But whatever it was a strike. Two of the oddest trades, by the way, at the trade deadline. Victor Martinez going to the Red Sox, along with Casey Kochman coming from Atlanta for Adam LaRoche. You almost have 5 guys that will now be rotating in and out of that DH slot, first base, behind the plate, and third base, among Kevin Youkilis, Casey Kochman, Mike Lowell, Jason Varitek, and Victor Martinez. 2 of those 5 players used to being played on a regular basis and playing every day. So it's an odd situation in Boston. Not necessarily bad. You don't. I mean, from the way I look at it, you don't really know how it's going to play out. You would think for Red Sox Nation it would play out well because these guys are good players. But how good are they when they don't play on a consistent basis? And perhaps how can you tell Victor Martinez that he's not going to play every day as a switch hitter, run producer?
Fastball on the outside corner to Tony. Well, of course, it all starts before you start addressing any of the answers. The first question is, how healthy is Mike Lowell to be able to play on a regular basis? Not just every day, but I mean, you know, is he capable of playing 5 times a week? Or is it more like 3 or 4 times a week? But if you buy into the adage that give me the best players I can have on my team and I'll take my chances, they're doing a pretty good job of bringing in good players.
That's true. It's true.
Ken Rosenthal, your thoughts on that situation in Boston? I mean, what about where's all this playing time going to go?
Tom, you hit the nail on the head. The issue here, the question here, is Mike Lowell. Defensively, he is one of the worst defensive third basemen in the majors right now. So what they can do with Victor Martinez is put Martinez at first and often Kevin Youkilis at third. The other thing that Martinez does here is that he gives them insurance, not only against Lowell declining and having a tough time, but Varitek, whose batting average has gone down every month, and also even if David Ortiz goes backwards again. So they just felt they needed another bat, and Victor Martinez was a pretty good one to find.
Now, if you put Victor Martinez at first base, you're going to lose a lot at first base by moving Kevin Youkilis out of there to third base. Now, first base defensively from a ground ball situation is not as pivotal as third base would be, because you're talking about a lot more balls hit to third than first.
Broken bat roller by a diving Cano into right field off the bat of Konerko, and racing on to third is Pacetta. Well, the White Sox Runners on the corners and 2 away, already leading 7-3.
And if you put Victor Martinez behind the plate and give Jason Varitek a rest, you're not enhancing your defensive position behind the plate either, coupled with the fact that Victor Martinez has to come over and learn a whole new pitching staff to call pitches for. And
in the middle of the pennant race.
And that is not an inconsiderable consideration.
A pinch runner going to come on and take over for Konerko. I got to believe he's still smarting a bit from that fastball he took in the thigh from A.J. Burnett back an inning ago.
And you can see Paul Konerko limping. Best thing to do with that is get in the clubhouse and ice it down, baby.
So Gordon Beckham stands at third. At first base now running is Mark Kotsay, just acquired prior to the trade deadline. Here's that fastball that hit him right in the thigh in the 5th. Pierzynski is 2 for 3 today. A single twice and scored a run. Popped up. Foul ground. Out of play. Konerko going to get back up into the clubhouse, it looks like, and get some ice on that thing right away.
Yeah. Take his business partner with him. That's
been a good partner.
Oh, it has it ever. Take it with you so nobody else will use it.
0-2 on A.J. Pierzynski. And it's in the air right field. Room for Swisher, inning over. A scoreless inning for Brian Bruni. We march on to inning number 7. 7-3, White Sox in front. On Fox, presented by Gillette Body Wash. (7-3), White Sox in front. At the top of the order for the Yankees against left-hander John Danks in the 7th. Derek Jeter, Nick Swisher, and Mark Teixeira. Marcotte ran a moment ago for Paul Konerko and stays in the game, and they find him. The first batter in the inning just beyond his reach, and I'm sure that'll be scored a base hit for Derek Jeter to start the 7th inning.
Fortunately for John Danks, it's good that the ball was beyond Kotze's reach, because had Kotze dropped the ball and it plops down in front of him, Danks isn't covering first, so you have nobody on first base. Any way you look at it, it's going to be a base hit for Jeter. John Danks, ball to the right side. Got to get over there. He didn't.
A right-hander and a left-hander begin to throw in the White Sox bullpen. Again, the right-hander is Tony Pena. The left-hander, Randy Williams. Oh, and 1 to Swisher. A ball and a strike. Danks at the 94 pitch count. And now the 1-1. 2 balls and a strike.
Sometimes it's not the pitch count as it is how quickly his efficiency fell off. Last inning he walked 2. He got away with it on the play by Quinton in left field to get Posada on the force play at third. Now he's behind Swisher.
And further behind Swisher, 3-1. Told you Danks coming in had been on quite a good roll himself, much like A.J. Burnett. Didn't have the wins that Burnett had, despite an ERA not much higher. Last 8 starts, an ERA right at 2.5, but only a 4-3 record. We talk about the lack of run support that Danks has gotten from his Chicago teammates. But they've given him 7 today. And he has walked his 3rd batter in the last 2 innings. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball, presents the July nominees for the MLB Clutch Performer of the Month award presented by Pepsi. Eric Ibar, man, is he knocking the cover off the ball. Goodness gracious. Mark Burley, perfect game, of course. Retired 45 consecutive batters, setting a Major League record. Jonathan Sanchez of the Giants with a no-hitter. Derek Lee of the Cubbies. Ryan Ludwig of St. Louis. Of course, you give it to Albert Pujols probably every month. Day is over for John Danks. He leaves with a 7-3 lead. In comes right-hander Tony Pena. Tony Pena comes on from the White Sox bullpen, replacing John Danks, and delivers a first pitch fastball. Strike one to Mark Teixeira. See the numbers on Danks: 7 hits, 4 walks, 3 of those coming in the last 2 innings, including the final batter he faced, Nick Swisher, to put 2 on with nobody out. And the real heart of this Yankee lineup coming up.
John upset when he was taken out of the game, slamming his hat down. You can certainly understand it. Not necessarily laugher territory as far as his team is concerned, but he certainly put them in an uncomfortable situation.
That is a fair ball. Nice play by Kotze, and he'll take it to the bag himself. One of the reasons they went to get Kotze, very versatile player when he's healthy enough to play. He's been bothered by a really bad back for a number of years, but can play in the outfield, can play first base, and is a good pinch hitter.
You never know bad back on that play. Good play. Crossing over to perhaps rob Teixeira of an extra base hit.
Tony Pena came over on the 7th of July from Arizona. They were hoping that Pena would blossom into the closer role, and it never really happened. But he ranks 4th among all major league relievers over the last 3 years with 61 holds. He's been a very dependable guy and has been especially good against right-handed hitters. The struggles have come against the lefties. But in his career, right-handers are only batting .226 against Tony Pena. Threw that fastball right by A-Rod. That's 0-2. Yankees 1 for 10 today with runners in scoring position. And the 0-2 is upstairs. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Base hit here more than likely makes it just a 2-run ball game. White Sox in front 7-3 with runners at second and third and 1 out. 1-2 on Alex Rodriguez. Here it comes from Pena. And a roller up the third base line, and it's a fair ball, and the throw is too late. By the time the rookie Beckham made the decision that it was going to stay fair and picked it up barehanded, it was too late to get Rodriguez. An infield hit and an RBI, and it's a 7-4 game.
But Tom, you're right on the money on that play. You'd see Beckham, little indecision, understandably thought it would roll foul, and his throw to first base is too late. That momentary hesitation, you know, in fairness, if he charges that ball all the way, he probably doesn't get A-Rod anywhere. Certainly understand the hesitation, thought maybe it would go foul, so an unusual infield hit for Rodriguez.
So now the Yankees have the tying run coming to the plate. Rodriguez at first, Swisher at second, and only 1 out. Strike 1 to Posada. Posada 13 home runs, 47 runs batted in. He's 0 for 2 today, has drawn a walk. Grounder down to Kotze. Bobbles the ball, still gets it out. He was thinking about 2, and perhaps that's what led to the bobble.
The lookup, as the infielders referred to it, trying to throw before you have the ball. Again, a play like this is understandable as Kotze looks. No, I thought he looked momentarily towards second base, but he didn't. His head was down on the ball. Yet another gig-up. lot of them going around today.
I'm going to have a hard time going to sleep tonight. I'm going to hear that word, I think, all night.
You go.
In the 7th inning, and now the left-hander just brought up from AAA Charlotte on Wednesday, made his White Sox debut that night in Minnesota with a scoreless inning. His left-hander Randy Williams. Fastball in the outside corner, strike one to Robinson Cano. Williams has pitched in 38 major league games. In 04 with Seattle, 05 with San Diego, and later that same year with Colorado. But went back down to the minor leagues and has worked his way back up to the big leagues in a big situation right here. And he knocks the ball down with his bare hand to end the inning.
How about that play? Man.
You'll knock it down with your lips if you've been in the minor leagues long enough.
True.
Presented by Gillette Body Wash, sponsored by Pepsi. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. By Hyundai. Now Hyundai Assurance can even lower your price at the pump. And by new Gillette Hydro Scrub Body Wash, a powerful clean without dry skin. Brian Bruni beginning his second full inning of work. He came on to get the final out for A.J. Burnett in the 5th. White Sox lead 7-4, and Carlos Quentin fouls it away, a ball and a strike. What a nice play by Randy Williams to end the inning.
Yeah, if this ball gets through the way Cano runs, that is a base hit. And the Yankees would inch a little closer. So a good play by Williams, even though that left hand is paying for it now. Matt Thornton warming for the White Sox. You get in the 8th and 9th innings. Remember, Bobby Jenks is not available to the Sox today. Kidney stones. Very, very painful. I saw him in the clubhouse for the game, but he is in a lot of pain.
Foul territory for Alex Rodriguez, one away. Well, the hometown fan cam brought to you by Bank of America Home Loans, making a commitment to home and to homeowners. Starting now, home has a new address. Oh, look at that little angel. There's that young man that got the foul ball earlier in the game.
You're lying about the tooth fairy.
We know all about that around our house. She's been visiting frequently.
Oh, that's great.
One 1-0 to Chris Getz. Just off the outside corner from Bruni.
I think inflation has caught up with most tooth fairies nowadays.
She ain't what she used to be. Two and one to Getz. Bruni throwing the ball very well here today. He's been on the disabled list a couple of times this season. There's a weak pop up in the shallow right center, and it will fall in a base hit. I mean, there's nothing Bruni can do about that. He just sawed him off in on his hands, but enough strength by the rookie Getz to drop it into center field.
And a good day for Chris, his third hit. That ball off the end of the bat. Flops into that no man's land out there.
Bruni, a guy who came up with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and Timmy, I was doing their games when he came up, and they named him their closer. He earned the closer's role. They didn't name it, he earned it. In the only year in the Diamondbacks franchise history where they lost over 100 games, that was a season 3 years removed from a world championship, 2 years removed for another divisional championship. Bob Brenly was fired that season very early on. They lost well over 100 games. And Bruni pitched very well at times and took his lumps at other times. And I remember there were some that wondered whether he had the mental toughness as the runner takes off, throw down a second, not going to be in time, to be able to handle that kind of role. I got to tell you, for those who wondered about that, I think he has proven himself in New York. I mean, he hasn't been a great pitcher yet for them, but he's been a pretty doggone good pickup for the New York Yankees.
Just a matter of being healthy. And a guy, again, because of his efficiency, most recently, perhaps that was one of the reasons that Brian Cashman, general manager of the Yankees, did not make a move before the trading deadline. By the way, for Chris Getz, that's his 16th stolen base in 17 tries.
One and one to Jason Nix, and it's up and away with a fastball. Don't forget the Yankees and the Red Sox next weekend from Fenway Park. And we'll see the Rangers and the Angels, and that all of a sudden has become a very important series. The Rangers, a team that will not go away. I beg your pardon, that way matchup next weekend is in the Bronx. Please forgive me. There goes the runner again, and not even a throw. Clearly, Bruni not paying attention to the speed he gets, and he makes him pay. Nothing Posada could do at second or third.
A good job by the young Getz after stealing second. Steals third without a throw. Now the Yankees have to move their infield in. That's a big play right there. Try to reverse the momentum that the Sox have lost over the last couple of innings.
Well, the infield in, 3-1 the count. And there's a strike. That's just a lapse in concentration out there by Bruni.
It is. Pitchers get into that certain rhythm, and good base runners take advantage of that rhythm they get in.
And there's ball 4 to Nick. You know, we're talking about that Texas Rangers team momentarily. I mean, Timmy, just when you think all of a sudden they're going to, start to come back down to earth. They rip off a couple of more wins in a row. They win 8 out of 10. That team is 15 games over 500. That team is only a game and a half out of the wild card.
That's right. That's behind the Boston Red Sox.
Runners on the corners. Posednik a base hit into left field to bring in a run. Boy, nothing hit hard in this inning. A little flare by Getz into shallow center field. He steals second, steals third after a walk. Again, just a little floater. This time to drive in a run by Posednik. So things were going well for Bruni. Until the hit by Getz, the lead is back to 4. And Joe Girardi to the mound. Placing Brian Bruni, who allows a hit, a couple of stolen bases, a walk, then a hit to knock in a run, making it 8-4 Chicago. Robertson, drafted by the New York Yankees in 2006 in the 17th round. And here he is 2.5 years later, pitching in the major leagues. Ball one to Gordon Beckham. Nick's a runner at second. Posednik on at first with an RBI. Posednik has 3 hits and 3 batted in today. Fastball on the outside corner is strike. Beckham grounds it foul up the third base line, and now 1-2 on him. Well, for those of you just joining us, 6 runs in the Chicago's second inning against A.J. Burnett. After he retired the first batter in that second inning, 7 straight batters reached base safely, 6 of them scoring. The Yankees have had plenty of scoring chances in the game to get right back in it, and have just failed to get the big hit today. Like an older gentleman got hit with that foul ball, and hopefully he's going to be all right. There's a breaking ball, strike 3 to Beckham. Well, I tell you what, give a lot of credit to the medical people in this ballpark. No sooner was that gentleman hit by that foul ball, where they had medical attention with him, I mean within a minute.
Immediately.
That's a great job. It's so important in these ballparks. And most of them do a phenomenal job of taking care of people in the seats. I believe that fellow's going to be all right. I mean, it looked like he just got hit in the belly from what we could see with that ball, older gentleman, and couldn't react to it in time. Certainly hope he's all right. Fly ball to center field, and this will end the inning. So good job by Robertson. We go to the 8th. White Sox lead by 4. Be facing hard throwing left-hander Matt Thornton, having an outstanding year out of the White Sox bullpen. Man, for a big guy, you figure he'd throw hard and you'd be right on the nose. He can let it fly. Falling behind Melky Cabrera, 2-0. Fallen behind 3-0. Of course, earlier this week, Thornton away from the club for a couple of days. He and his wife Emily welcomed their first child into this world on Monday. Daughter Avery Annette, 7 pounds, 7 ounces. 3-1 on Cabrera. So congratulations to the Thorntons. Well, you talked about being patient with left-handers very early in the telecast today, Timmy, in reference to John Danks. Now, here's a left-hander, although he goes about it in a different way, is a much harder thrower. And there's a strike three called where the Seattle Mariners didn't really have a lot of patience for Matt Thornton. They traded him to the White Sox, and he has become arguably one of the 2 or 3 most dominant left-handed relievers in all of baseball.
I don't think there's any question about it. Falling behind Melky Cabrera and then coming back with strikes 1, 2, and 3. Very few pitchers, period, left or right-handed, throw that hard and have that good a control. Only 15 walks in 43 innings this year.
Jerry Hairston Jr. has walked, scored, single, and actually had another base hit. What is the fielder's choice? Time for the Just for Men hair color hold leaders. And you see Thornton fifth on that list with 16 of them. And just as these pitchers keep their teams in the game, you too can stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. And we say Hairston had a base hit. The bases were loaded back in the Yankees' 6th inning when he hit a blooper in the short left field that fell in between the shortstop Nix and the left fielder Quinton. But because the runner at second, Jorge Posada, had to hold to see whether or not the ball would be caught, Quinton fielded the ball and threw out Posada on a force play at third, thus scored a fielder's choice. 2 away in the inning.
It was a very good play by Quinton and a very important play as this game winds down. The reason it was a good play is he did it immediately with the play in front of him. Had he hesitated just a nanosecond, then Posada safe at third, and the inning perhaps flourishes more than it did.
Now Cody Ransom, 2 outs and nobody on. Thornton throws a fastball, strike 1. Certainly the White Sox will be keeping an eye out later tonight. Detroit will be in Cleveland. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim will play in Minnesota. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night for Mr. Ransom. All gas from Matt Thornton. Body Wash, sponsored by Holiday Inn. Ball specially formulated for men. Left-hander Phil Koch takes over on the mound for New York, following Burnett, Bruni, and Robertson.
And Tom, speaking of a guy taking over on the mound, I see Bobby Jenks is up and throwing for the White Sox in their bullpen. And I was under the impression that because of kidney stones, Bobby Jenks was not available today. You don't know whether he's throwing just to, to get loose, but I would imagine if he's up, he will pitch in the 9th inning.
Jim Thome down a strike. One and one to Thome. He's been aboard twice today. 1 for 3 has been hit by, or I beg your pardon, Thome 0 for 4. He struck out twice. His first time up, Robinson Cano was playing where he is right now in shallow right field. And Thome hit a rocket that almost knocked him over, but he caught it. This time he drops it beyond Cano. It's time for the Mercedes-Benz E-Class. Attention, assists, plural today of the game. Going back to the very first inning. On a ball up against the wall by Mark Teixeira. Jermaine Dye gunned him down at first base. And then the play made by Carlos Quinton on the force out at third that we referred to a moment ago. A base hit by Thome means every player in the White Sox lineup here today has at least one hit. Of course, Kotze came on as a pinch runner. This is his first plate appearance since running for Konerko back in the 6th inning. Konerko hit in the left thigh on an A.J. Burnett fastball in the 5th. And you got to believe he's probably even right now in the clubhouse in a lot of pain. Base hit to right by Kotze. 2 on, nobody out in the White Sox 8th inning. For more on Tampa Bay and Kansas City, time for a DirecTV game break again with Mr. Chris Rose.
All right, Tom. Carl Crawford, your All-Star Game MVP, leads Major League Baseball with 48 steals. Feel free to trot around the bases, young man. His 11th homer of the year. The Rays take care of the Royals 7-1. Remember to follow your favorite out-of-market team only on DirecTV. And that means, they're closing in on the Yanks, Tom.
You do not want to count that Tampa Bay team out. Oh, no. 10 games over 500. 2 full months of baseball still to play. 2 on for Przinsky with nobody out. Strike 1.
No, Tom, Mercedes assist of the game. It's a rarity nowadays when you come to a Major League Baseball game and see 2 outfield assists in one game from one team. Outfield assists, plural, in this decade are the lowest they've been since the first decade of 1900.
Really?
In baseball, yes.
Wow.
That was a statistic that Stats Inc. had for us a couple of years ago, and that still applies. When you think about it, I mean, how many times do you come out and see an outfielder throw a runner out? It's a rarity nowadays. But it's the lowest it's been in 100 years.
Why do you think that might be? A couple things come to my mind right away.
No infield.
That was number 1 on my list.
The first thing on my list.
You know, the other thing you never see anymore, that one is rolled foul down the first baseline. And to this day, in my 22 years announcing Major League Baseball, The only guy that I have seen do this at least 2 to 3 times a week, long toss, and I'm talking about outfielders, to continue up the strength in their arm, was Steve Finley, who still to this day is the best conditioned baseball player I've ever seen play.
That's a very good point. I haven't thought about that, but he was absolutely in perfect physical condition.
Still is now, 43, whatever he is. 0-2 the count on A.J. Pierzynski. What a piece of hitting. How about that? Served into short left center field, and a run will score. You can't do it any better than that.
Unless you're Andre Agassi. Look at this little volley. Off the end of the racket. Point Pierzynski. Comey not only scoring, but drawing the throw and allowing the White Sox a chance to move their runners up.
Runners at second and third, still nobody out. And they're going to intentionally walk Carlos Quentin. Yankees had only lost twice since the All-Star break when they came rolling into the Windy City to take on a team that we brought up earlier. Came limping back from a 1-6 road trip through Detroit and Minnesota. But outside of the opening game of this series, the last 2 days are turning into laughers.
Yeah, I mean, if the White Sox win this game and they're comfortably ahead and win tomorrow, it will be the first 4-game sweep in Chicago since August of 1964, when Yogi Berra was the manager of the team and the Phil Lentz harmonica incident happened in the back of the Yankee bus in mid-August of 1964.
How about that?
That's something. 45 years.
Pinch runner going to take over for Carlos Quentin. Dwayne Wise, of course, who made the great play, keeping the perfect game bid intact for Mark Burley. In fact, on the wall in the outfield, they're already calling it the catch. There's ball one outside to Getz. There it is. And here it was. In the 9th inning. A week ago last Thursday. Getz chases a pitch up in the strike zone and fouls it away, 1-1.
I think that's pretty sharp of the Chicago White Sox PR office and the guys responsible for that. I mean, to put that up immediately. Here it is 9 days after the perfect game, and the catch is already up.
Fouled back out of play. Of course, since that 4-game sweep the Yankees had here in Chicago, the White Sox have gone through about 15 uniform changes.
That's true.
1-2 the count on Chris Getz. The infield in, bases loaded with nobody out. And a grounder. There's one. Throw to the plate, tag play now. And no, because he tagged him with a glove and had the ball in his hand. Wow.
Well, you're exactly right. What a catcher tries to do when he has to make a tag play is get the ball in his bare hand. The problem was Kotze goes to the outside of the line. Here's the first part of that play. Ransom on a nice play. The throw up the line. Posada drops the ball. He has the ball in the bare hand, makes the tag with the glove hand. And safe is Kotze. Good call by home plate umpire Andy Fletcher.
Infield still in. Runners at second and third with one out. And ball one to Jason Nix. A perfect day for Jason Nix. A bases loaded walk in the second inning. He scored. He's had a double. Drew another bases loaded walk from A.J. Burnett in the fifth inning, and then he walked again in the seventh. 4 times a night you get that production out of number 9 hole hitter. It's probably going to be a big day.
Yeah, if your 9-hole hitter in 4 at bats comes up with 8 men on, it's going to be a big offensive day. And sure enough, the White Sox have right now here in the 8th have scored 10 runs.
Going to walk again. This time of the intentional variety. So they're loaded for Pasednik, who's had an outstanding day today as well. 3 hits, all of them singles. Has scored a run, has driven in 3. Infield in again for New York. Swing and a miss by Pasednik. Runs, 16 hits today for Chicago. Chased the breaking ball away, did Pasednik. 1-2.
How about that follow through after that swing? Looks like it's a swing and Scott trying to stay in bounds. He had 1 foot in. It's in college.
It's okay in the college game.
Yeah, right.
Boy, Coke taking so much time in between pitches. Robinson Cano look like a little leaguer out there throwing dirt around.
Not knowing what to do.
Yeah. Two and two the count on Pasednik with 1 out and the bases loaded. 3-2. Well, it's been a painful inning for Robertson. Allowed 3 hits, walked a couple of batters intentionally. Now he's gone 3-2 on Pasednik. And he's walked in a run. 3rd bases loaded walk given up by Yankee pitching today. Boy, this is ugly. Well, we thank Gordon Beckham, the rookie, for wearing a microphone for us today. Our Fox Sounds of the Game. Listen in.
That's nice! That's nice! Woo! After I said that's nice, I go, woo!
Don't assume. Don't assume anything. Just pick out the pitch you want to hit it. If it's it, first pitch,
yeah,
get the job done and move on.
Yeah. I got it! Hey, that had some crazy spin on it. You're all right. Hey, great pitch. Hey. That was awesome. Let's get a double play.
He'll be a good player.
Oh, I guarantee he is. He's here to stay from all indications.
We talk all the time about just the brutal honesty you get from Ozzie Guillen, the White Sox manager, when you ask him questions. When Beckham came up and started his career at 10 for 58, Tim, we were here that day, and the White Sox were playing terribly, and Beckham had just come up to the big leagues. And most managers, when they're asked after a game, what do you think about the kid Beckham and blah, blah, blah. And, Ozzie comes right out and he says he stinks just like everybody else. There's a base hit into left field that'll go all the way to the wall.
Not anymore.
Not anymore is right. This kid may wound up winning Rookie of the Year before all is said and done, and wasn't brought to the major leagues until June. It is 13-4.
Second and third RBIs of the day. Second double for Gordon Beckham. And you're going to be hearing that name a long time with the White Sox.
So Joe Girardi's going to come get Phil Coke. Wow. A 5-run 8th inning thus far for the White Sox. They're still batting with only one out. So Koku is having a nice season, but it can't get much uglier than his 1/3 of an inning here today. And now taking over, Mark Melanson from the Yankee bullpen. Made his 7th appearance of the season here Friday night. Allowed 1 hit in an inning and 2/3 with a couple of strikeouts. And, of course, that is the first time he had pitched in a game since July the 10th against the Angels.
Well, the Yankee staff giving up 10 runs to the White Sox last night. And here it is less than 24 hours later. And they're giving up 13 today. So 23 runs over the last 17 and 1/3 innings given up by the Yankee staff.
Ground ball to Derek Jeter. This will bring in another run. Jeter throws out dive. Derek Jeter a moment ago conversing with Gordon Beckham. Again, they tagged the runner out at third, and Beckham went around the bag too far. He must have thought it was a third out of the inning.
I think he did.
Ooh, boy. He will hear about that from Mr. Ozzie Guillen after the ball game today. How do you hang your head, though, after a 6-run 8?
That's right. 14 runs scored.
say a few words after the end of the inning.
Get one hall pass usually, so we'll let that one go.
Good stuff.
That's good stuff and understandable.
And again, we thank Gordon Beckham for wearing a microphone for us today. Bobby Jenks on to get some work in. He thought when he began to get loose, when the White Sox came to bat in the bottom of the 8th inning, that he might be on for a save chance. It was still a 3-run spread before a 6-run Chicago 8th inning against Kobe.
Talked about Bobby with kidney stones, and for the game, unlikely that he would be in there today, but here he is. Good news for the Sox and their fans.
Jenks has had a rough go of it here of late, not only with the health issues, but just getting people out. He has allowed runs in 5 of his last 6 outings, during which opponents are hitting over 400 against him. He blew consecutive save chances for just the 2nd time since he became their closer.
Oh, boy. Here you have a 10-run lead and a guy who has never been on the disabled list. Here's A.J. Pierzynski, who will turn 33 in December, and he has never been on the DL. That, to me, is just remarkable when you consider taking shots like this off the top of the foot. That one hurt. And it seems like, it just seems like foul tips like that, and he's mad now. Foul tips like that come in give away games, or in high-scoring games, one way or the other. That's what happens. You get those foul tips so often when you're in your 30s and you've been catching, and they make you mad after a while. Very few people with whom that can empathize with you.
Peter, a ground ball to short. Peter still going hard, even with his team down by 10 in the 9th. Our game-changing plays brought to you by Holiday Inn. Signs of change are everywhere. The bases loaded walk. The first of 3 of them in the game, 2 of them by A.J. Burnett, and both of them came to the same batter, Jason Nix. The second one, which came in the 5th inning, was the final batter. Ray J. Burnett, who allowed 7 earned runs here today, 10 hits, hit a batter, walked 2 in just 4 2/3 innings. Nick Swisher bats left-handed for the first time today. A bouncing ball behind the bag. It's Nix again, and the Yankees down to their final out. Well, we invite you to stick around right here on Fox. Coming up, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Cops. Then 9 Eastern, 8 Central, America's Most Wanted. Of course, next Saturday, a couple of dynamite games coming your way. Most of you will see the Yankees and the Red Sox from Yankee Stadium. And many of you watching this game out in the western part of America and down into Texas will see the Rangers and the Angels, the top 2 teams in the American League West. 0-1. It's outside. 1-1 on Mark Teixeira. Boston off to an early 1-0 lead tonight over the Baltimore Orioles. Tampa Bay has already won 7-1 over Kansas City. Josh Beckett, by the way, on the mound tonight for Boston. Detroit, meanwhile, is trailing Cleveland 1-0 early in that one. Told you going into play today, the White Sox a game and a half behind Detroit in the American League Central. The Yankees a game and a half up on Boston in the East. And this will do it. One hopper to second. And a big day for the White Sox. Scoring 14 times. They have won the first 3 games of this series. And they are looking for a 4-game sweep